welcome on in to another episode of Getting Well with Terry and Friends, NHL Season Preview Show edition. And today we are going to talk about the Florida Panthers. They had a big offseason, a very interesting offseason, and we will jump right into it and look at what this team did. So obviously the big news is the trade. Getting Matthew Tkachuk and sending Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar to Calgary. Also signed Mark Stahl, Colin White, Rudolph Balcers, Anthony Potato, Chris Tierney, Michael Delzato. So basically they went after Tkachuk and then they got some depth guys. They added some depth guys, but they lost quite a bit here. Claude Giroux, Mason Marchment, Joe Thornton, obviously at the end of his career there. Max Amanen, Chase Prisky, a defenseman I'm kind of surprised they gave up on so quickly. Robert Haig, Noel Achari, Ben Sherratt, Marcus Nudavara, Jonathan Huberdeau, Mackenzie Weegar. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot gone off this roster. And basically they have Matthew Tkachuk as the only big piece, maybe Colin White as well, but Matthew Tkachuk, obviously the big piece. I think it's a step back for Florida this offseason. I don't think they're necessarily going to be as strong as they were last year. But yeah, overall, kind of a negative offseason in my opinion with the Panthers. Occupancy, additions and subtractions. What do you think about the Panthers offseason?
Yeah, I think they lose some of the flash, with Huberdeau gone and Weegar gone. These are two players that, constantly lit up the scoreboard. Huberdeau had been a Panther his whole career, I believe. And him gone, the team's going to change a little bit, chemistry for sure. Matthew Tkachuk, I think, fits right in to the system, though. He's a hard-nosed player that can put the puck in the back of the net. And then they signed some, veteran talent. Stahl, White, Delzato. I mean, these guys have been around the league for a while. Balcers, pretty good player out in the West Coast. So I think I do think it's a net loss, but a slight one.
All right. They do have Eric Stahl on a professional tryout as well, so joining his brother Mark Stahl. We'll see if he makes the team or not. But going on to the second part of the show, and that's looking at the top prospects and the upcoming free agents here for Florida. And one thing I notice is I have to remove Spencer Knight here because he did just re-sign a 3-year deal. So he is no longer a restricted free agent after this year. He re-signed. Looking at prospects, definitely some good guys still coming. Grigory Denisenko, Maki Samsokovic, Alexei Hiponiemi. Sorry, these names. Justin Sordiff and Michael Benning. So Florida still has some prospects, definitely not a top prospect pool. And I am kind of surprised, like I said, that they gave away Chase Prisky to let him walk. Florida obviously focused on the here and now, less so than the future. And looking at upcoming free agents, kind of a small list compared to other teams in the league. Patrick Hornquist, Radko Gudas, Mark Stahl, and then Colin White, Rudolph Balcers, and Lucas Carlson. So a few of these guys that they just got on 1-year deals are UFAs and RFAs. So overall, not a huge offseason coming. Florida, if they do take the step back that I think they might, they will probably look at adding different guys in the offseason. Occupancy, what do you think about the top prospects and upcoming free agents for Florida?
Yeah, these are regards to the free agents. These are guys probably going to want to sign at least Gudas. He's been leading the NHL in hits. Are up there for the last few years. He's a physical presence there. Hornquist also veteran presence. He's got the Stanley Cup track record. This time with the Penguins, and he's a little older, but I think he's a guy you want to keep around for now. See how the season or two goes. I don't know too much about the top prospects. I have to look into a couple like their elite prospects, player pages and whatnot. But I think Florida, they have a team that they trust, and we'll see how they do.
All right. Yeah, definitely looking towards the current present rather than the future with the team that they do have this year. But looking at possible lineup, we'll take a look at what Florida's lineup looks at most likely in this upcoming season. Carter Verhaeghe, Alexander Barkov, Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk with Sam Bennett. That's really interesting. Obviously, former teammates there rejoining on the line with Colin White, Lomberg, Anton Lundell, Patrick Hornquist on the third line. Lundell, a player I'm really high on, a very good prospect in his second year here. And then Cousins, Luostarinen, and Rudolph Balcers on the fourth line. A couple guys that are currently scratches in Lefty and Tierney. Forsling, Ekblad, Mark Stahl, Gudis, Carlson, Montour, and Delzato. The defense could possibly be a little suspect here. Mark Stahl, a little bit old to be on that second pairing. If for some reason he and let's say Ekblad were to go down, or let's say Ekblad and Gudis, or Ekblad and Forsling, you're out. You have some depth issues when it comes to defense with Florida. Bobrovsky, another year older, has kind of rebounded from previous years in his career last year, so that was good to see. Spencer Knight obviously has that 3-year deal now, and will be looking to continue growing and possibly taking the starter's job over the next year or two. But overall, still a very good lineup, but not quite as good as last year, I think. I do think Florida is going to take a step back in a very strong Atlantic division this year. Occupancy, what do you think? Possible lineup here for the Panthers?
Yeah, I'll work my way from the crease out for this one. Bobrovsky, definitely a bounce back year for him. 913 save percentage, 2.67 goals against average, 3 shutouts. That was up from the year previous, and up from his first year in Florida. So he's trending upwards, which is good. His game, he didn't play as many games in that second year, but I think with Spencer Knight and the signing, they can kind of manage his workload a little bit. He's a high caliber goalie, so he's really talented, and I think he can take them to the playoffs. Can they win in the playoffs? That we'll have to see about. And Spencer Knight, just taking a look, at his first 2 seasons. Obviously 2021. He's 19. He only had 4 starts or 4 games played, and the season before, this just last season, he still had a 908 save percentage, 2.79 goals against average, in 32 appearances, 19-9 record, 2 shutouts. So I think they're good in the crease. These are solid goalies. I think that can carry them throughout the season. The defense, as you mentioned, it's an interesting batch. Obviously Ekblad, he's great. He's injury prone, as we know. We've seen him go down a few times. Like I mentioned before with Gudis and his hits, the physical presence. Montour is a fast, good skater. Came over from the West Coast, and so I think their defense, can hold its own. But you got to look at this division too. We're gonna have defenses that kind of look like this. It's not gonna all be, all-star names out there every day. But we'll have some good matches there. So for the offense, Look, you know, Barkov, Reinhardt, Verhage, probably going to match up against pretty much any top line, out there with the type of numbers they put up. And, you just go down the list, and I think they're strong throughout. It's going to be interesting. I mean, I think, maybe a slight step back, but not too far back. I mean, it's still going to be a good team.
All right. And then next up, we'll look up their futures for this year and the last 5 years for Florida. Florida had a rough go for a long time, but recently, last few years have been pretty good for Florida. Looking at it, qualifying round exit in 2019-2020, first round exit there in 2020-21, and then made the second round last year, and the best season in franchise history. And even if you look at 2017-2018, they were 44-30-8 with 96 points, and they missed the playoffs. So still had a good team there. Florida, better than they've been in their history. Looking at the point total, 122 last year. This year, it's 105.5. So that is obviously a big step down there. Plus 200 to win the division, plus 900 to win the cup, and plus 600 to miss the playoffs, minus 900 to make the playoffs. Florida is not a team I'm going to get involved with futures. I do not see them getting over 120 points again. I don't even think they hit 110. But I could see them at 109, 107, and going over this point total. I don't know how big of a step back they're going to take. So overall, no real bets for me when it comes to the Panthers this season, when it comes to the futures. Occupancy, what do you think about the Panthers' last 5 years and their futures for this year?
Believe it or not, I had a couple of friends, big Panthers fans, and for years it was kind of, remember a couple really just tough years with this kid named Huberdeau that everyone was really high on, and he really came into like a top NHL player though, and that was really cool to see. Like he was that storyline is really cool. So I appreciate that. Look, they were smashing teams last year. I mean, it was unbelievable. I'm checking out their numbers here. I mean, they scored 340 goals last season, and they let up 246. So, I mean, they were really, I believe they're the highest scoring team in the league there with 340. 122 points is just going to be hard to top. President's Trophy winners. 105.5 is an interesting number. That's, if you look at the way the East ended last year, that would have put them in around 7th place. The Pittsburgh Penguins ended with 103, and the Bruins in 6th ended with 107. So, I mean, if you're going to ask me, like, do I think Florida is going to be higher than a 6 seed at the end of this season? I mean, I would say yes. So I think 105.5 is an interesting number. I'm not sure if I'm going to take it yet. I got to still like put out all my futures bets and whatnot, but I'm interested at that number. With regards to the division and the cup, I won't be touching that with the Florida Panthers this year. So yeah, I mean, they're a solid team, and we'll see how they do.
Yeah, they won the division last year, so that's probably why the plus 200. But people might say, "Oh, plus 200 to win the division." No, you can get a lot better prices with other teams, and in Florida, most likely will be taking a step back this year. But that is the Florida Panthers show. Thank you everybody for watching. I'll be continuing on. We have a couple more shows left, so make sure to tune into those. But hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Hit the like button if you like the content. We appreciate all the support, and we will see you again for other shows. Have a good one, guys.